broadcasting from the Unshackled Studios in Melbourne. This is Wilms Front, brought to you by the unshackled.net. Now here's Tim Wilms.
Hello and welcome to tonight's show. It's the first Wilms Front in a week now. The date is Wednesday, the 11th of December, 2019. We are live on the Tim Wilms YouTube channel as per usual, where you can interact in the live chat. And we are, for the first time, we are streaming to a DLive, which if you've never heard of DLive before, it is a free speech blockchain-based live streaming platform. It has grown in popularity with streamers such as PewDiePie. He's the most popular live streamer on YouTube. He signed up with DLive, and also Nicholas J. Fuentes, host of America First, when YouTube doesn't allow him to basically live react to TV shows such as the Democrat debate, and just this afternoon he was watching himself on an MTV documentary. So YouTube doesn't allow that for copyright, but DLive does allow you to do it. So that's another benefit of it. You can't get a copyright strike on DLive, and you can't get a community standards strike on DLive. Now, it does have a smartphone and tablet app, which makes it more convenient for the ordinary person to watch on the go. It's going to be a bit difficult for me to monitor two streams at once, but I'll give it a go. It's still me managing everything, but I'll do my best to interact with you in both places. Now, you can financially support this show and the work of the Unshackled by supporting this show on DLive, because it offers a non-government backed money financial support program to help assist content creators. You send through what are called lemons, which you can purchase with either cryptocurrency or it uses Amazon Pay. Now, DLive is only for live streaming. It only holds the previous live streams on its servers for 72 hours. As such, my episode archive will be backed up on BitChute. It's where you can, that's a free speech video uploading platform that's been around for a number of years. It was blocked by Australian ISPs following the Christchurch mosque shooting, but the telcos now have lifted that restriction, so it's now back to its previous popularity. Maddie's Modern Life from XYZ, his channel on BitChute, it's got over 500 subscribers now, and because of YouTube's arbitrary community standards, he is uploading a lot of his new content as BitChute exclusives. But for me, it'll just be a backup, because of course, in case you're not aware, YouTube has just come into effect its updated terms of service. They were due to come in on December the 10th, which gives Google more flexibility in terminating channels, not just for breaching community standards, but for commercial reasons. Well, it's the day after the feared YouTube apocalypse. Hasn't occurred, but we shall see. We will continue on YouTube for as long as we are allowed, because this is how we first grew, well, not just my program, but the Unshackled channel, which I hosted my previous Unshackled Waves episode on. Of course, the show will continue in podcast form on your favorite podcasting platforms. So there'll still be plenty of ways to support or to view this program and listen to it as well. And of course, this channel, as you know, is not monetized and might not ever be. So the way to get around this on YouTube is to use Entropy, which is the YouTube enhanced software, where I've just posted the link there in the chat. You can send through super chats there. You can ask me questions throughout the show, and I can also do a poll if I so feel like it. Now, I'll just check how many of you are here on DLive. There's a couple. Please, if you are on DLive, send a message through because I would like to hear feedback to make sure everything's going on DLive, because I did a test of it yesterday which worked well, but you sort of never know because you've got to use stream keys and it's quite technical. So I'll just send a message there. I've just said hello there. Oh yes, Alfredo78 said hello, all good. Thank you there. I've got 6 followers on DLive already, which is, well, it's not many, but it's a start. Maddie's Modern Life, he also started streaming XYZ live on Monday night on DLive, so we're all migrating over there. I know that a lot of people in this chat, they watch the entire Australian alt media primetime lineup, so if you haven't already, create a DLive account so you can view the stream and also interact there. Now everyone's coming over here. I've got on my tablet here, I've got YouTube, and then on my desktop here, I've got DLive here. I just got my first lemon. I don't know why they decided to call it lemon, because lemon in Australian lingo means like a dud. Because there was that famous Liberal campaign ad from the 2010 election. Well, it was released just before Kevin Rudd got removed and replaced with Julia Gillard. Liberal Party released their Kevin O'Lemon ad that Kevin 07, he turned into a lemon, one great big disappointment. So I kind of don't like how it's called lemon. They should have done some Australian analysis of their of what they decided to call it, because yeah, I'm not too keen on the lemon. Hey, at least they didn't decide that you could send through on DLive potatoes, because yes, we know what also that means in Australian term. Now, I did promote on Facebook and all my other social media platforms that I was going to be joined tonight by Romeo Georges, who was part of the Can the Plan convoy that went to Canberra last week, demanding that the federal government tear up the Murray Darling Basin Plan, which is depriving farmers of their water rights. But we couldn't set up the Skype connection, because even though he does Facebook vlogs, everybody knows that you just need a phone to set up Facebook vlogs. So Skype is a bit more of a challenge to people, but as is the case, the show must go on. I haven't done a show in a week, and so even though sort of the plans went out the window at the last minute, I'm pretty confident that I can get through this show by myself. I mean, hey, if Matty can rabbit on for over an hour on a Saturday night like he has been with his Matty Rose Live solo stream, then I can do it too. So yes, I am managing to keep up with both of the chats here. Like I said, it's going to be a challenge. Now, in case you weren't aware, I've just come back from 2 Facebook bans. The first happened was late Thursday evening, early Friday morning. I got notified that I got a 3-day ban for sharing a link to my recent Wilms Front interview with Blair Cottrell when we both had our 30th birthdays, because this violated YouTube's community standards on promoting dangerous individuals. Because the same thing happened to Australian Meditations. That page got unpublished when it shared, well, they committed a double Facebook sin. They posted a photo of Blair and Neil Erickson in the same photo. That's when they were outside of court doing the OK sign. So yes, that is a big no-no. So I got off the ban Monday morning, and then Monday afternoon I got notified that I got another 3-day ban because in promoting that episode before it aired, I mentioned Blair Cottrell's name, and so that again violated policy, just mentioning his name. And I've been told the same thing happens with Neil Erickson's name, and also the same thing happens with Tommy Robinson's name. They are the Voldemorts of Facebook. I do want to run an experiment, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who's posted a link to a web post or article or video featuring Blair Cottrell, but I think it's because I don't call him a fascist, Nazi, criminal thug that is the reason that Facebook is going after me. So I'm thinking of maybe just posting on my Facebook page, even though it does say I'm in danger of it being unpublished now. I should just write Blair Cottrell is a fascist, neo-Nazi, violent, thug, misogynistic, arsehole criminal, and see what happens. See if it's my page that's flagged, or whether that I'm just mentioning Blair Cottrell without saying anything bad. That seems to be the thing. But I got off this latest 3-day ban early because if you've been following my Facebook page, I was able to promote what was going to be this episode. On Monday morning, I posted an image of Blake Farron, the fictional patriot activist from Rompistobber, who is allegedly based on Blair Cottrell, even though Blake Farron is much fatter and older than Blair is. Facebook didn't have a problem with that, so I guess fiction is okay with Facebook, which I think tells you a lot. So the last few days I've been spending a lot more of my time on Gab and Telegram. They are definitely my two favorite free speech alternative social media platforms. I do have a Minds account, but I don't really like Minds. It hasn't really worked for the Unshackled, but still keep it there. I know that Maddie, he's a pro of all of them. Well, he self-deleted Facebook. I did indicate after my second Facebook ban that my New Year's resolution was going to be to delete Facebook, but a lot of people have said no, don't give up on it unless you're basically forced off. They want me to keep going on the platform for as long as they allow me. So we shall see. I've had 4 community standards violations in the past few days. So it'll be interesting because the judgment is going to be handed down on Blair Cottrell's blasphemy appeal that I covered during the middle of November. His appeal against his criminal conviction for inciting severe ridicule, revulsion, and contempt of Muslims over his participation in the United Patriots Front mock beheading video outside the Bendigo City Council building in October 2015 to promote one of their rallies. He was convicted of that in September 2017, fined $2,000. So was Neil Erickson and Christopher Shortis, but they didn't have a conviction recorded against them. Blair decided to appeal. He employed the services of Patriot lawyer John Bolton. They're appealing it on 3 grounds. The initial guilty finding and conviction on the what's called the substantive charge, that it violates the Victorian Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities and the Australia's implied constitutional freedom for political communication. So we've been notified that the Chief Judge of the County Court, Peter Kidd, will hand down his judgment on Thursday, December 19th at 10 a.m. So Blair did a lengthy vlog on his Telegram channel last night going through it. It was his first vlog for a while. He said that he doesn't do any more because he's banned from Facebook and YouTube, but he's had Telegram for a while, so you can do vlogs on Telegram. Tommy Robinson, who was banned from Facebook and YouTube, he's been doing vlogs on Telegram for a while, so that sounded like a bit of an excuse, but yeah, it was still, I would say, a pretty slick vlog from Blair. He certainly hasn't got rusty, even though he hasn't done one for a while, because certainly he still gets messages a lot, and people ask how come you don't do videos anymore. So he set out when the verdicts is set to be handed down, and gave his thoughts. His Telegram channel has really taken off since he appeared on Mark Collett's Patriotic Review Weekly. Mark Collett is, well, the original British nationalist activist. In 2002, the summer, he was featured on Russell Brand's documentary series Rebrand. It was called Nazi Boy. And then there was the Channel 4 documentary Young, Nazi and Proud, which the presenter won a BAFTA for it. So at that time, Mark Collett was 22, was just graduating from Leeds University. He was the youth organiser for the British National Party, which was the original nationalist party in the UK. They used all the tricks that they could on him, Russell Brand and Channel 4, to paint him in the worst possible light. But he's 39 now. He's got a young daughter, and definitely a lot older and wiser. And he's made a comeback with his social media profile, and also with his weekly show Patriotic Review Weekly, his vlogs, and also founding a new nationalist lobby group in the UK, Patriotic Alternative. Now, I will make this announcement now, even though, as you all know, my guest tonight fell through. We have got confirmation from Mark Collett that he will be appearing on the December 19th Thursday episode of the Uncockables, which airs every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Melbourne time. The Unshackled joint production with XYZ and the Rational Rise. So that will be quite a big episode to cap off what has been quite a successful year in this new venture of the Uncockables, because we wanted to do an alt media super show, and it's spectacularly taken off. So it's a Christmas present to you, the viewers of the Uncockables. So it'll certainly be. I know that all of the contributors are keen to come on that episode. I'll just put the entropy link in again. I'm not sure if anyone's over there now, because, yeah, everyone's all over the place tonight. Some people are on YouTube, some people are on DLive. So, yes, as I mentioned, I already had a Gab profile, gab.com/Tim Wilms, which I occasionally post to. I post all Unshackled content, but I've been giving my thoughts since I've been banned from Facebook. But I've also set up a Wilmsfront Telegram channel, t.me/Wilmsfront, and also set up a chat there, because why not? Everyone's got Telegram channels now. The only problem with everyone having a Telegram channel now is you basically got to mute 99% of your notifications. Otherwise, your phone is just going to go off bing, 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 bing. Because there are so many channels, chats, or direct messages with each other. We also we've had a Telegram channel with the Unshackled was since the beginning of the year, but we just created a Telegram discussion chat because we did have a Facebook discussion group, but yeah, I've been banned from Facebook recently, and we don't know how long we'll be allowed to speak freely on that platform, but no one's ever been banned from Telegram that I know of, and the only people who have been banned from Gab are people who've incited direct violence, such as Christopher Cantwell, but Andrew Torber, apart from that, he is a free speech absolutist. He's basically thwarted the deplatformers every step of the way. Basically, Gab has got its own servers, own IP, own currency, own everything. It's quite incredible. That's one of the problems with doing things solo. You just saw me take a drink there. I don't get to defer to somebody else while I'm taking a drink here. Now, as you can see, sort of my commentary will be a bit all over the place tonight, but as long as you're really enjoying the discussion, and yes, if this is the perfect show to ask me a question on entropy, or send through a super chat, because I've got your undivided attention. So I have been completing a lot of back-end work for the Unshackled. That's why, well, there hasn't been a Wilms Front episode for a week. But it's also why I haven't been publishing many articles lately, because, well, running a website, it's a lot more complex now than when I first started the Unshackled with a basic domain and web hosting package. There's a lot to manage, especially a website that has the traffic that we have and the archive of episodes that we've accumulated over the past 3 years. And certainly we want to make sure that if we do get deplatformed from mainstream social media, we've got the unshackled.net perfectly secure, because, well, that is what you need to plan for in this the current year. Basically, if Facebook or YouTube, they pull the plug on you, you're not completely screwed. Some people have asked who's on the Uncockables tomorrow night. Well, that is up in the air. It's always me and Dave Hiscock of XYZ here in the studio. The third person, it's basically confirmed the afternoon. We sort of put in the chat who wants to come on tonight, who's free. We had Dusty Bogan on last week, who was in the YouTube live chat. And yes, I see Australian Protectionist Party is in the live chat, who is on Dia Beltran's weekly live stream, which is after Wilms Front, who has said that your... if I got that right, Australian Protectionist Party, your appearance is pre-recorded, even though Dia Beltran, she likes her episodes live. That's interesting, because I know that Dia, when she promotes Dia Beltran live, she wants it to be live. But as you know, with this show, I do air pre-recorded segments, because the guests that I have on this show, they can't be on when the show is scheduled 100% of the time. But most of the time, this show is live, and well, part of the show is always live, so you can interact with me, and most of the time interact with the guest as much as possible. Yeah, I feel that I've given Matty a run for his money with my solo commentary tonight, but enough me talking about the Unshackled and my own social media presence. Let's actually get to some news and analysis, because Melbourne and Victoria has basically been the laughing stock of the nation for the past 4 years with our far-left Premier Daniel Andrews, who got re-elected in a landslide in November last year. But I'm actually glad to be a Melburnian and a Victorian at the moment, because I don't live in a state which is ravaged by bushfires in such as New South Wales is. The city of Sydney is in a smoke-induced haze, where it is 11 times above hazardous levels. Their farmers are in a drought, thanks to the mismanagement of the Murray Darling Basin Plan. And even though New South Wales has had a Liberal and National government for the past 8 years, they've done stuff all to fix the Murray Darling Basin Plan and drought-proof the state, which is why a lot of farmers in southern New South Wales are voting for the farmer Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party and other independents, because basically Nationals haven't been representing them. And of course the federal Nationals, they've been in coalition with the Liberals in government since 2013, and Barnaby Joyce was the agricultural minister. Now the agriculture and water portfolios are shared with Bridget McKenzie and David Littleproud. They're still being too spineless to act on behalf of their core constituency and give them back some water. They're too scared of the environmentalists and the greenies saying you're depriving the ocean of environmental flows, even though farmers they're basically at the breaking point. They're being forced off the land. But yes, well, so Sydney, it's in New South Wales, it's consumed with drought and bushfire, and also their police force, I would say, at the moment is basically being, I would say, quite draconian, because, well, not only do they base all those music festivals at the state, not only do they patrol, it seems, to the teeth in trying to bust young people who might have illicit substances on them. There's been more tragic deaths at music festival. Gladys Berejiklian, she's moderated her opposition to pill testing somewhat by saying we'll have anonymous disposal bins, where if you see police coming and you've got an illicit substance on you, you can put it in the bin, no questions asked, which is some good progress on it. But New South Wales Police, they've also been strip searching minors looking for illicit substances, which strip searching adults is degrading and invasive enough, but doing it to minors, that's abhorrent. I mean, but the New South Wales Police Minister, David Elliott, has defended the police, and New South Wales Police Commissioner was actually saying that we don't like that there's not enough respect for authority in the state. So I'm sort of wondering, wow, Victoria Police, we've often criticised it for lacking in force, but at least they're not strip searching for us, and they've got the sniffer dogs out everywhere. So yeah, I'm quite glad that I'm a Melburnian and Victorian this time of year. Obviously, my sympathy does go out to the New South Wales farmers and those who've been affected by the New South Wales bushfires. I heard today that 272 homes have been destroyed. Something like over 2 million hectares have been destroyed, and 6 people have died. So it definitely is a tragedy, and it is a man-made tragedy, not through man-induced climate change, but by water and bushfire hazard reduction mismanagement. Because of course it's not the Conservative government are too cowardly to actually put in policies and legislation that'll benefit the quiet Australians who voted for them, but they don't want to stand up to the bureaucracies who seem to be running the country because, well, Scott Morrison didn't know that there were gender-neutral toilets in his own department, and then we learnt that a high school was being built in Brisbane's Fortitude Valley, which had gender-neutral toilets all throughout it, except for the change rooms. They were still going to be male and female. Well, I'm glad that they still have young people, again, underage people, privacy. And what I was talking about, the strip searching of minors before, it's just incredible that we're just basically violating children's innocence in all forms now. It is quite abhorrent. I was just going to take a sip of Coke. I drink the Coke to be alert, and then I drink water to be hydrated. I know that the Queensland Health Department, because it is, well, it's finally warming up for summer, they advise people to drink lots of water because it'll be good for your body. You'll feel hydrated, which is not bad advice. Drink plenty of water on hot days, but of course the only downside is you keep having to go to the toilet, which is annoying. I am checking over on DLive now. What's Piers Taylor said? I will hide in the bin at concerts. Yummy, grinning. Well, I hope that's not your real name, Piers Taylor, because I'm sure the authorities are now watching DLive as well. I'll just put the entropy link in again. Again, there's so many things to manage here. But yes, it certainly is a red Christmas in Sydney, because we are now just 2 weeks exactly from Christmas Day. And, well, we've always had scorching red Christmases in Australia because we are in the southern hemisphere. And I know that a lot of people in Australia say, oh, I want to go to Europe or United States for a white Christmas, but I love that it's summer during Christmas. Of course, I don't like it that we've got bushfires that are ravaging one state at the moment. But yeah, I certainly like it that we can go outside during Christmas. We can go and see the extravagant light displays at homes, and of course in Melbourne we have the famous Maya window lights. I haven't been to those in years, but certainly as a child I went to those. So there's certainly, you can get out and about in Melbourne and the rest of Australia because it is summer during Christmas, and then of course it's our summer holiday period in Australia. It doesn't just end at New Year's, but January is a pretty quiet month for business and also news. But it didn't turn out to be a quiet January in Melbourne last summer because, well, it's when the African youth gang crime wave swept through Melbourne again, especially on our beachfronts. And then, of course, it was quite a big development when Blair Cottrell and Neil Erickson held the meeting rally, as they called it, at St Kilda Beach. They weren't protesting Africans or African crime, but the governments who'd allowed this mass migration. And of course, that was when the first time this year when the collective mainstream media lost their minds, and they were especially triggered that Fraser Anning made a surprise appearance there, and there was allegedly Nazi salutes, which, well, one was just a photo that was taken out of context. The guy was actually waving, he wasn't making a Nazi salute. And then there was another guy who did the Basil Fawlty impersonation, which is obviously, it's mocking the Nazi salute, because, well, if you have a look at in Nazi Germany, people doing the Nazi salute, they're certainly not doing the mustache thing. And that was made famous by John Cleese's character Basil Fawlty in Fawlty Towers. But yes, nobody is allowed to do, as we learnt this year, even make a joke Nazi salute, or of course you're not allowed to make the OK sign anymore. That is if you make that in any context, it means you're a white supremacist, because that Victorian police officer at the IMARC blockade, which the left was trying to storm into, he made the OK sign to check whether the protesters were okay. He was apparently a white supremacist for doing that, because Tom Tanuki investigated his Facebook page, and he had the NPC meme and a photo of Pepe. Oh, heaven forbid. Yes, well, there's certainly been a lot more stupid, as it's called, in 2019, and I will go into more of what's happened not just this year but this decade, because of course it is the end of a decade this month. It'll be the 20s in less than a month's time, and so I noticed that a lot of shows now are reminiscing on this decade, and certainly a lot's happened, not for the better, which is quite sad, but I'm still an optimistic person. I do believe that the future is bright, and it'll only be a dark future if we let it, because we are living in the most technologically advanced times, with the freedom and information available on the internet. We've been able to mass communicate like nothing before. Certainly we do have our problems, but the elites, the governments, the globalists, they can no longer take us for fools like they did in the past. And we just know that governments and mainstream media are just lying to us left, right and centre all the time. And yes, it's of course going over to the United States. We've seen what happens when the mainstream media have are dealing with a president who doesn't like them, and that the media cannot control. The House Democrats have read out the articles of impeachment, which we all knew when they're holding these impeachment hearings that they were going to impeach Donald Trump, which means it now goes to a trial in the Senate next year. And yeah, it was basically a rush impeachment hearings, and it was basically the testimonies were like, because it's all based on Donald Trump's phone call with the Ukrainian president, where Trump subliminally went for a quid pro quo about investigating Hunter Biden in exchange for military. US military aid to Ukraine to help fight Russia. And all these bureaucrats have testified before the US House Judiciary and Intelligence Committee, has said, yes, I interpreted the president's comments like this. He never actually told me that this was a quid pro quo and that we were going to deliberately withhold aid unless the investigation took place. It was just their interpretation. I think someone posted it's like holding a murder trial when the person's not actually dead. But as we saw a few months ago, when Brett Kavanaugh was accused of sexual assault again by a man who claimed he'd witnessed it, the woman came forward and said, no, that didn't happen. But basically, they said that Brett Kavanaugh was guilty of this based on the information of a witness, even though the alleged victim said no, that never happened. You wonder if, well, because we know when Bettina Arts written and spoken about this, but extensively, that feminists, they want the reason why they're having these star chambers in universities with sexual assaults and misconduct cases is because they want more convictions. They want to smear more men as rapists. Imagine if you could have a rape trial where there's no actual victim, just somebody claims that they saw you rape somebody, even though, because of course, you can just say that the alleged victim, they repressed the memory that is locked inside their head. So yeah, so who knows what will come of the legal processes in the future, but at least we're aware of it now. Just put the entropy link in again. Yeah, so that's what's happening over in the United States at the moment. And of course, well, Trump, he's correctly called it a witch hunt. The Inspector General's report on the origins of the Russia probe was released and basically said that, confirmed that the catalyst was Trump's low-level campaign operator, George Papadopoulos, his conversation with Alexander Downer, former Australian Foreign Minister and former High Commissioner to London. This was when they were having a scotch and whiskey in a wine bar in London, and George Papadopoulos said that he knew that the Russians had incriminating information on Hillary Clinton. And yes, when the DNC emails were released by WikiLeaks, that's when Alexander Downer reported that to the FBI and kicked off the whole investigation. So yes, it was partly made in Australia, the FBI investigation into the Russia probe, which of course, even though Trump was exonerated, there was no collusion, no obstruction of justice. They basically turned a lot of Trump's former campaign workers and friends into criminals. George Papadopoulos went to jail. His former campaign chair, Paul Manafort, is going to jail. His former National Security Advisor, Michael Flynn, could be going to jail. His former lawyer, Michael Cohen, is going to jail. And Roger Stone, he was, well, Trump's confidant of 40 years, was found guilty of all 7 charges at a trial. Recently, he'll be sentenced in February 2020, but given that he can receive a maximum of 50 years in prison, and, well, given the deep state doesn't like Trump, Roger Stone, unfortunately, might get a lengthy sentence there. And there's already a petition for Donald Trump to pardon his friend Roger Stone, because the US president has the power to pardon people, and if it's not, if you can't use the pardon power to pardon one of your closest friends who's being pursued by your political enemies, then what can you use it for? Who cares what the media and other apparatus said? He's your friend, one of your longest friends. Pardon him and just deal with the fallout. But yes. Enrique Tarrio, the new chair of the Proud Boys, he's based in Florida and has become good friends with Roger Stone. He released a shirt at the Proud Boys 1776 shop. Roger Stone did nothing wrong. And of course, Roger Stone is also, a lot of people don't know this, is a member of the Proud Boys. So yes, that's what's happening in the United States in the lead up to Christmas. But obviously, with the Australian news cycle turning down, there is attention is now turning to the UK general election, which will be happening on Thursday, the 12th of December, which means we will get the results on around about midday on Friday, the 13th here in Australia. We are doing a special Uncuckables live stream for the UK election results as they come in, like we did for the Australian federal election. It'll be, as always, with any Uncuckable show, myself and David Hiscock, and we're joined by various Uncuckables contributors as the day progresses, because we'll start at midday and keep going until we get a result. Now, the poll, even though Boris Johnson, the current Prime Minister and Conservative Party leader, has been ahead in the polls for most of the campaign because the UK uses the first past the post electoral system in 650 constituents scattered all throughout the United Kingdom. The polls don't mean much. Again, it's all about the marginal electorates, and even though most of the polls point to him gaining majority government, well, the Conservatives regaining majority government, which they lost in 2017 under Theresa May. It could still be another hung parliament because that's in the margin of error in the polls. Obviously, I noticed the Australian Conservatives, they're really talking about how scary Jeremy Corbyn Prime Ministership would be, because he is a hardcore Marxist communist. He has admired Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, though most of the conservative media has been attacking him over his party's alleged anti-Semitism, because Jeremy Corbyn is an anti-Zionist. He is sympathetic to the Palestinian government Hamas and the Lebanese terror organization Hezbollah. And obviously, when you hang out with some of those Muslims who are associated with those groups, they don't think much of Jewish people. They don't think there should be a Jewish state, and they also question the Holocaust as well. So Jeremy Corbyn has been hammered on that issue. And he's been called a racist, Jeremy Corbyn, but so has Boris Johnson being called a racist because, well, in the past he's described Muslim women who wear the burqa as basically being like letterboxes because they've just got the slit in their eyes, and he sort of thought, oh, you post a letter in there. So, well, if you saw racism everywhere, the choice this election is between a conservative racist and a socialist racist. So I noticed that there was a Guardian column, which I saw the headline, but I didn't read, that some academics saying we've lost the definition of racism in this election. I think we've lost the definition of racism over the past decade. Everyone's accused of being a racist or phobe or whatever. It's getting quite ridiculous. But of course, the defining issue of this election should be Brexit, because the dysfunctional parliament has refused to pass a Brexit deal. So Nigel Farage, he's gone to this general election to break the Brexit deadlock. Basically, his main pitch has been, let's get this done, let's focus on other things. There was the famous he ad that he's released, which imitates the Love Actually Christmas message montage. Which that has upset one of the Love Actually actors. That's the UK Christmas movie from 2003, written and directed by Richard Curtis, which basically had an all-star British actors lineup. Hugh Grant played the Prime Minister. And thank God he's not the Prime Minister in real life, because he is raging against Brexit, saying that Boris Johnson is going to steal his children's future. And I have enjoyed Hugh Grant's Twitter feud over this with Piers Morgan, who's become quite based and red-pilled since he took Alex Jones' advice when he hosted his CNN show in America. Alex Jones told him, go back to where you came from if you don't like it. And so Piers Morgan did, and he's hosting Good Morning Britain, and he's basically become based as the host there. So yes, he and Hugh Grant have been engaging in basically this Twitter warfare against each other. Piers Morgan, when Hugh Grant's trying to take the moral high ground, just posts his mugshot of when he was arrested in the United States with the prostitute Divine Brown. And I think in response, Hugh Grant has said, oh, well, here's you photographed with Ghislaine Maxwell. Care to explain this? And Piers Morgan's be like, oh, well, she's photographed with everybody. Like, that doesn't imply anything. And of course, this because it is for first past the post, the fact that there is the third parties, the Liberal Democrats who have vowed to cancel Brexit no matter what the people think, despite the 2016 referendum result, and then of course the Brexit Party under Nigel Farage's leadership. As the name suggests, Brexit Party's only goal is to leave the European Union. The Brexit Party won the recent UK European parliamentary elections. The Liberal Democrats, the Remain Party, they came second. So voters in the recent Europe, because the UK is still in the European Union, so they still voted in the recent EU parliamentary elections. And so yes, the British public, they voted for either the hardcore Brexit Party or the hardcore Remain Party, and Labour and the Conservatives, Theresa May was still Prime Minister at the time, did appallingly. Now, Jeremy Corbyn, all he said on Brexit is that we'll give the people the final say on Brexit, that I'll make a deal and then put it to the people to approve that Brexit deal. And Jeremy Corbyn, I would describe him as a British national socialist. I mean, he has always been against globalism, but during his time as UK Labour leader since 2015, he has become cucked by the Blairites, as they're known, the social democrat globalist elites who came into prominence during Tony Blair's prime ministership from 1997 to 2007 under what he called New Labour. There's still a lot of Blairites there, and so they've basically cucked Jeremy Corbyn to basically make him a flip-flopper on Brexit. And so, yes, Jeremy, like Bernie Sanders has in the United States, he's basically cucked to the global progressives in his party. And yes, so Jeremy Corbyn, he's 70 now, yet in his desperate bid to become Prime Minister and basically keep people on side who never wanted him to be the leader in the first place because he's voted by the party membership, has basically ceded to his enemies' demands. So, yes, Jeremy Corbyn, there's so much wrong with him. Socialism is just the beginning, and there of course has been a lot. The British National Health Service, that's become an election issue. Jeremy Corbyn's tried to make it an election issue. Boris Johnson was shown a photograph on a phone of a boy allegedly on the floor in a British hospital, and he was saying to Boris Johnson, this journalist, how can you tolerate this in your nation? There's been a lot of suspicion that this photo was staged, that the boy was just basically plonked on the floor for the photo, because, well, I haven't heard because we have a lot of public hospitals in Australia. We have a mixed system where we have a public system and a private system. That's never happened in Australia in a public hospital, that some vulnerable young boy has been left on the floor in a hospital. If that happened in Australia, legitimately happened, there would be mass outrage and heads would roll. So I can't remember who that journalist's name was again, because this is a late minute change of plan in the show, but I will certainly bring it to you if not tomorrow night or on the election night, or as it will be election day live stream of the Uncuckables on Friday. I'll just put the entropy link in again. Yeah, I am, because I'm talking basically most of the time. I'm not paying much attention to the live chat on YouTube. So if you are desperate to ask me a question, please use the entropy link. Oh, lots of people have come in on DLive, which is nice to see. I knew that once I'd start streaming here, a lot of people would come, and so far there's been no technical hitches on DLive, which is good. It seems the hour has flown by here. I'm just checking if there's anything else. Oh yes, the volcano eruption on White Island in the side off the coast of the South Island in New Zealand. Obviously, that is dominating a lot of the Australian news cycle, given that there have been Australians who've been confirmed dead. The death toll has risen. I'll just make sure that I get it right. Because I do want to be accurate here. It was updated. So 6 people are confirmed dead, 10 Australians are unaccounted for, and there's 25 patients who are in a critical condition, and some are too burnt to be identified or to speak. And when I burn my hand from boiling water, that hurts quite a bit. I can't imagine what it would be like to have burns to a lot of your body. And apparently the burns unit in New Zealand is at full capacity, so some might have to come to Australia. There is going to be a coroner's investigation in New Zealand. But if you watched Trans-Tasman Talk that I host with Dewey de Boer of rightminds.nz last night on the Unshackled channel, you can see the live replay there. We talked about how this is a completely natural disaster. You can't blame it on climate change, or as I said, white men, because, well, volcano, it decides to erupt when it wants. Of course, it is a force of nature. The volcano is not actually a living being. But Scott Morrison, he's certainly been under fire this week, because he held that press conference in Sydney unveiling the changes to the Religious Discrimination Act, which will it'll expand the religious exemptions to charities, but narrow health practitioners, conscientious objectors. It was with Christian Porter in Sydney on Tuesday. He was accused of being insensitive, the fact that he did hold a press conference in Sydney about an unrelated matter to the haze in the city, where people are wearing gas masks. And so I know that Morrison derangement syndrome has been developing with the lefties since his upset federal election victory. That now, it's fair to say, with the drought and the bushfire prevention, certainly some Conservatives are growing frustrated with Scott Morrison's lack of guts when it comes to standing up to the bureaucracy and the media and the vested interests. But yes, the left there, their Morrison derangement syndrome has gone into overdrive, because of course they blame the bushfires on climate change, and that we need a climate emergency declared. And that Scott Morrison, he's basically he's not acting as they believe a leader should be. He's just carrying on like business as usual, according to them, even though bushfire response, it is a state government responsibility with, well, it's in New South Wales, the Rural Fire Service. And he was asked in a press conference yesterday, should the volunteer firefighters be paid, and he said, well, it's a volunteer force. They're there because they want to be there. That's the whole idea of volunteer. Because people want to protect their communities. I mean, you don't you don't want your local community to burn down. And well, their headline was incredibly misleading. It was not just on the SBS article, but it says Morrison rejects extra assistance to firefighters, basically saying that he didn't want to assist in fighting the bushfires. And Senator Marine Faruqi of the Greens wrote on Twitter, seriously, fuck off. That was her tweet from a senator, which, well, that type of language, it makes what Sarah Hanson-Young says as civilized. I just saw Sarah Hanson-Young on Sky News earlier today, and yeah, she was certainly use, I would say, much more polite language that Marine Faruqi did. But yes, this was an incredibly disingenuous headline, and of course, I think it's great that we have a volunteer firefighting force because, well, if we solely relied on professional firefighters, then it would provide incredible strain on state and federal government budgets and cost taxpayers a lot. But Rural Fire Service, or in Victoria, the Country Fire Authority, basically every outer suburban town and regional centre has a volunteer fire service, and it basically is a pillar of the community. I mean, the argument is for paying volunteers is that they have to take time off work, and well, they're losing a salary, but it's a community effort fighting the firefighters. Yes, there's the person giving up their time, but I know from my own experience in my old hometown of Hastings on the Mornington Peninsula, that it's not just the locals that volunteer at the CFA there. A lot of local businesses donate supplies to the local CFA to assist, because, well, it's not in the interest of businesses for the town to burn down. And I mean, if you're a business and you say to a worker, no, I don't want you to go and fight the bushfires, I mean, you'd be, to put it politely, a real dick if you denied that. And in terms of it costing businesses money, well, I think if your business burns down, then that's pretty bad for business and bad for the community as well. So and in terms of, as I just said, they're pillars of the community, these CFAs, and because we are losing community, neighbourly cohesion in Australia, and so I think the CFA and Rural Fire Service in New South Wales, they're one of the last bastions of community spirit in Australia, and so I certainly wouldn't want to lose that. And well, there's been, if one of the big disputes in Victorian politics has been the firefighters union deal that Daniel Andrews has passed through the Victorian Parliament, which has taken a lot of power out of the Country Fire Authority and the CFA, and given more power to the professional metropolitan firefighters, which a lot of people have feared that it does put lives at risk when there is a bushfire, because it does. There is a lot of change that does affect the autonomy of how the CFA can respond. Thankfully, well, it's been very cold here in Melbourne during this summer, so there hasn't been many bushfires to fight. There was a really hot day on Monday, and East Gippsland, there was a bushfire that was out there, but it's cooled down again now. It's been one of the coldest summers here in Melbourne. So yeah, we have been, as I said, that's why I'm glad I'm in Melbourne at this time of year. But going back to what I was talking about, yes, I want to keep as many volunteer organisations in Australia as possible, because certainly I think when people, as the word volunteer suggests, it's voluntary that you choose to go and serve your community. I would certainly argue that when people do things out of the goodness of their hearts, out of a form of community service for free, that you certainly get better results than if the money is forcibly taken from taxpayers and filtered through the bureaucracy where it goes to some form of expense. And as we know, when government centralizes things and provides a service itself, it's pretty crappy, as we know with the national broadband network, where there is going to be a new tax on internet users. If they don't sign up to the NBN, you'll be slugged with an extra internet charge, which is a tax because, well, thanks, Kevin Rudd, that National Broadband Network was such a wise idea, designed by you and your communications spokesman in 2007 on it was either a napkin or beer coaster on a flight from, I think, Sydney to Canberra. That was the thought bubble there. So just check over on Entropy. There's a super chat from Zero Tolerance for $3. Hear about change.org petition to dissolve Parliament because of ScoMo's climate denial. Well, change.org Australia, its CEO is Sally Rugg, who was a Get Up campaign director of the same-sex marriage campaign during the postal survey. People often speak of her as Australia's most famous lesbian. So yes, after her success with the same-sex marriage campaign, she's moved over running to change.org, and the campaigns director of change.org Australia is a activist called Nick Hollis. He recently was seen next to Sherelle Moody at that famous press conference next to Larissa Waters at Parliament House, delivering the petition to get Pauline Hanson off the Family Law Reform Committee, where Sherelle Moody said that firefighters, after they fight fires, go home to beat their partners, because there'd been a lot of praise for masculinity in fighting the bushfires. Because 75% of the firefighters are men, and of course feminists can't stand that. So thank you for that super chat, Zero Tolerance. I'll put the Entropy link in there again. So if you want to send through a super chat or ask a question before the show's end, you can do so. I don't plan to go on too much longer. I think I've done pretty well for just a last minute thing, unless there's anything that you would like me to raise in the chat. If there's anything you'd like me to comment on that's been in the news, I'd be more than happy to share my thoughts. I am hoping that the haze in Sydney, the bushfires, and they say in New South Wales it's likely not to rain again until April, but we wouldn't mind some summer rain for the farmers in southern New South Wales, and also hope that it's not, if that rain did come by some miracle, that it's not flushed out to sea by the Murray Darling Basin Authority, who seem to live in some sort of bubble. And it was pretty disgusting what happened at the Can the Plan convoy, where the farmers and the members of the convoy, they forced the cowardly national politicians to come out from their safe space in Parliament and speak to who should be their constituency. And there was a lot of optimism that water would be returned to them, but then when the farmers and the convoy left, David Littleproud, the agriculture minister, said no, there's going to be no revision of the Murray Darling Basin Plan until April next year. The water commissioner, or basically the water police enforcer, because if farmers, if they take too much of the government-owned water, then Mick Kelty, who's a former Australian Federal Police Commissioner, the water police will come after the farmers and give them massive fines or prosecutions. It's quite disgraceful. So once the farmers left, the government basically said, "Oh, we're not going to do too much." I know that the New South Wales National Party state. They've finally grown a spine. Deputy Premier John Barilaro, whose seat of Monaro is near the Murray Darling Basin, and of course there is only one language that politicians seem to understand, is political oblivion, losing their seats. John Barilaro, he said that the state should tear up the Murray Darling Basin agreement. And, well, he's right on that, but it took you long enough, John. You've only been in part of a Liberal National government for 8 years. I know you haven't been the Deputy Premier for that long, but you certainly should have done something a long time ago to drought-proof the state. And notice that, speaking of how political annihilation, it makes politicians do right things for the wrong reasons, Albo is on his regional tour of Queensland, and he's now he wants Matt Canavan, the Resource and North Australia minister, to say that his government will commission a taxpayer-funded coal-fired power stations, because New Labor in Australia loves coal miners now, because they nearly got wiped out in Queensland with Bill Shorten's non-committal stance on the Adani coal mine. And there was swings of 10% in central and north Queensland to the LNP, which helped deliver Scott Morrison's victory there. So yes, Albo has been on a regional tour of Queensland there. The senator he's been with is Anthony Chisholm. And Albo, he's also been talking up coal exports now, that we should be exporting our coal. And Adam Banter had a triggered meltdown on Sky News. And, well, Albo, he said this on Q&A, the last episode of the year, and the last episode of Tony Jones's tenure as host, which is a very courageous thing for a Labor leader to say on Q&A. He was there with former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. Turnbull said that the drought and the fires, they're caused by climate change, and that it's a national security issue. So as I said this on Trans-Tasman Talk last night, does ASIO need to gather intelligence from the sky of when the water is likely to fall, and when there's likely to be bushfires? Yes, but speaking of Q&A, the ABC released the findings of their internal investigation into that famous Q&A feminist broadside episode with where Egyptian-American author Mona Ethaway said maybe we need to kill over a million men to defeat the patriarchy. She talked about on the Q&A episode itself killing rapists, but in her book, The 7 Deadly Sins for Women and Girls, she actually said maybe we need to kill up to 1 million men. So the ABC, pending the investigation, they took down the episode from iView and their other social media platforms and won't replay it. Their internal investigation has said that was the right decision, but there's no one going to be punished for the production of that episode. And Mona has been telling overseas feminists that, I can't believe how fragile Australian white men are, that they would get so offended by this hypothetical violence when they should be really upset about actual violence towards women. Because yes, it is totally acceptable to put out a proposition to murder 1 million people for no reason other than the inalienable characteristic, even if it is a joke. I mean, if anyone, say, from the right made that hypothetical on Q&A, basically the or any other panel show, the federal police would raid the program, arrest that person. The channel would be shut down, from deplatformed from all social media. But it was only a hypothetical, says Mona. It was only a bit of a fantasy. Well, like, as we know, or as we are told, that type of fantasy can inspire real life violence. So no, I don't think that we are snowflakes for taking offense and concern at your idea to kill 1 million men simply for the crime of being men. So yes, apparently that's that sort of thing. That's free speech to the left. That's when they cry about free speech. But if you say anything that's to the slight right of them, then that's hate speech. That's what they believe. All right, I might wrap this up now. It's your last chance to interact with me on entropy. So I'll see we've had quite a good first audience on DLive here. So I noticed the subscriber numbers, it's called following my stream on DLive. That has bumped up. Whoa, I've got a few lemons here. Thank you everyone for sending me some lemons. They are certainly not the sour type of lemons, if you get my joke. That's a poor dad joke from me. So yeah, speak now or forever hold your peace, because I know that Dee Beltran, she does not like me to go overtime. I've basically pretty much done all the reminders within the show tonight. So yes, as you know, I'll be back tomorrow night for the weekly Uncockables live stream, which of course has been streaming to YouTube every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Melbourne time, in its dedicated channel. We are going to be streaming the Uncockables to DLive this Thursday, but what we basically need to get the DLive account verified is Dave's phone number, because you can only use the one phone number for a DLive verification. So Dave's got to arrive early so we can get him to basically get the DLive channel for the Uncockables up and running. So Dave, don't be late, otherwise we can't stream to DLive. Oswald Mosley, I'll only answer that question if you put it in entropy. I did see it, but I'm being very strict now that if you've got a question, put it in entropy. I do have a guest lined up for Friday evening. It is Stephen Wells, who he has written a self-published book recently, Confessions of a Climate Denier. He's basically going to debunk this link that's been made in the media and by alleged academics and former firefighters that the bushfires are climate change induced, because of course global warming, it's all about increasing the temperature worldwide, but they've managed to say that, oh no, it also means extreme weather events. So we'll get to the bottom of that with Stephen on Friday night. He's a Perth resident, so it'll be mid-afternoon when he joins me, but he as far as I know is keen and eager to come on. But as we've seen tonight, or as you've seen tonight, the show goes on. There'll be no more cancellations of shows in the lead up to Christmas. I plan to keep going right up until, because yes, I think I've I've been away from Wilms Front for enough, so there will be a show Friday night, 7 p.m. Melbourne time on Tim Wilms YouTube channel, and also on the Tim Wilms D-Live stream. And there will be a Sunday night show, which Sunday night it might start a bit after 7 p.m. Melbourne time, but there will definitely be a Sunday show, because as I said, definitely want to keep the momentum going up until Christmas. And well, there'll be certainly a lot to talk about on Sunday night with the aftermath of the UK election result, and well, who knows what other news will come into the lead up to Christmas, because, well, we've had some, in the lead up to this Christmas, we've had some incredible tragedies. I remember it was I'm not sure if it was last year or it was the year before, in 2017, there was another car attack in the Melbourne CBD, which killed an elderly man by a mentally ill asylum seeker, now Australian citizen. Thankfully now in Melbourne we've got those diversity bollards. So the last attack we had was in November 2018 with the car bomb and stabbing spree, which killed that popular local coffee shop owner at Giovanni's, I think it was. So yes, I'm certainly, well, as you know, I'm not religious, but I'm wishing for when it comes to Christmas, a peaceful Christmas, where everyone who's been busy fighting natural disasters can go home, see their loved ones, because in this day and age, we need to get that family and community spirit back, because there's certainly too much selfishness and ramp materialism that I think just connecting with our fellow humans, that's really what we need. All right, as I mentioned, Dia Beltran is on next over on her channel. I'm not sure if this is her final stream for the year. I don't know whether she indicated that. As I also mentioned earlier, Mehdi is doing solo streams now on his Mehdi Rose Live channel, in addition to XYZ Live every Monday at 9 p.m. Melbourne time. And I know I've been promising this for a number of weeks, and I've also been promising Richard Ralston-Croft this as well. There will be a new report from Tiger Mountain episode coming out very soon. I'm slowly catching up on everything here. And also, Steel Archer has been missing in action with his Detonation program, which is streamed on his Detonation channel. He also has his steelarcher.com website, and Steel he doesn't always take the same initiative that I do, but he should set up a D-Live account as well, so he can stream there as well, because Steel is currently disabled from Facebook, so he's certainly got to start diversifying his transhumanism in Australia's social media presence. Of course, the show is not just on YouTube and now D-Live, but as I mentioned at the beginning, it's on your favorite podcasting platform. I, of course, am on Gab, Minds, and Telegram. You can find the links to all of my social media and Wilms Front on podcast by going to timwilms.com. That's got all the links there, and it's also got the archive of episodes, because even though we started only in that September this year, the show is already, nearly 30 episodes old, and just cracked 300 subscribers on YouTube, which every achievement on the growth of the show is certainly something to celebrate. Anxious Aussie has asked me, what do you use for multi-streaming, Tim? I use XSplit Broadcaster, which is, I've been using that since I began live streaming, and it's what allows me also to use a green screen while I'm live streaming as well. I know that Dia and Maddie, they use StreamYard, but I know that, I haven't looked into whether StreamYard you can do green screen on it, but XSplit has a lot more features where I can bring up different graphics and everything. There's a lot more flexibility with it, and XSplit also doesn't have a monthly fee like StreamYard does. So yes, I've loved XSplit since the very beginning, since it was recommended to me, and once something is... I'm using, I get the hang of something which has been recommended to me and I like using it, it's very hard for me to change. So yes, that is my favorite program, and yes, it allows me, I can stream to as many platforms as I can, because I'm not sure if you remember the federal election live stream where we were streaming to the Uncockables, to the Unshackled channel, to Maddie's Modern Life channel, and also to the Rational Rise YouTube channel as well. That put quite a heavy strain on our internet, but it worked. We will, because I should mention that on the Uncockables or election UK election night or day live stream, that it will be, because we will be streaming for up to 6 hours, we will be having a few beverages and might order some pizza as well, like we did on the election night live stream, because it's a hard slog going for 6 hours analyzing results. So you need a bit of to wind down every now and then. All right, I think I'm pressing up against Dia's time. Of course, if you want to financially support Wilms Front and also the work of the Unshackled, not only can you send through a super chat through Entropy and send through a lemon on DLive, but you can also sign up for an Unshackled membership at the unshackled.net/membership. And there is also a web donation form at theunshackled.net/donate. We are on subscribestar.com/theunshackled, which is the only true free speech, crowdfunding, content creator support platform. We also have an online store at theunshackled.net/store. We are, for the moment, still on Patreon and PayPal, but it seems that, PayPal, in case you didn't know, they have taken a stance against the degeneracy of porn and deplatformed Pornhub users. That's been a whole new debate that's been opened up this week, whether porn should be banned for its degeneracy and its effect on modern society and young men. But I'm sure we'll discuss that on tomorrow night's Uncockables, because it certainly got a lot of people talking. And also Patreon, well, as they've deplatformed a number of people over the years, but they recently deplatformed somebody for the right reasons, the creep YouTuber Onision, who, well, with his teenage girl fan base, has been accused of grooming many of his underage teenage fans, and he had a complete meltdown when his Patreon got deleted, where he stripped off to his underwear and poured champagne on him, screaming loudly. It was quite incredible. Peter V says, fat pizza. Well, yes, we will make sure that the pizzas we have on Friday are big and cheesy. Definitely, there is, in the area that we're in, there is definitely my favorite pizza place. They make the best pizzas. And no, it's not Domino's, or as I call it, Vomitos. But yes, as I mentioned, not only am I streaming to DLive, as on a free speech live streaming platform and backing it up on BitChute, which is a free speech video hosting platform. But it is all being backed up on rationalrise.tv, which is James Fox Higgins is the director of. That's a self-hosted free speech video platform where you can also financially support all of us in the Australian alt media primetime lineup. By signing up for a membership there. You can either choose to support us individually or sign up for a universal rationalrise.tv membership. I think I've mentioned it as well. He hasn't asked me to, but I feel that Dusty Bogan will be doing a Thirsty Thursday tomorrow at 6 p.m. Brisbane time, which will be 7 p.m. Melbourne time. Oh, and Peter V, I have figured out that you're Paulie Falzoni on the YouTube. I know that's you, Peter V. I figured it out. But yes, please make sure if you haven't, sign up to our email list because that's another way that we can reach you in case we're ever deplatformed, theunshackled.battlefield.net. And of course, keep going to theunshackled.net on a regular basis to check out all of our written commentary as well. So thank you so much for your company tonight. I'll see you tomorrow night for the Uncockables and on Friday for another Wilms Front.
Thanks for tuning in to Wilms Front. Visit timwilms.com or Rational Rise TV to view the archive of episodes. And keep visiting theunshackled.net to view all our shows and to keep up with the latest real news and analysis.